running it. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I've had a rough afternoon. Okay, good evening, everyone. It's so good to see everybody, and it's been so long I forgot who you all are. So no, it's good to be back. How wonderful to be back. Happy New Year to everyone. And we're going to begin by asking our wonderful board attorney to lead us in the pledge this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item is audience of any season. The FGC Board of Trustees will hear any citizen who wishes to address the board on a one-time basis pertaining to a relevant topic. If the board wishes to hear more about that topic will be scheduled for a future board meeting. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The time dedicated to this topic will not exceed 20 minutes. I have not received a speaker form, so if I don't hear anything from the audience, we'll move ahead. You all have received our next item, approval of board minutes. You have the minutes from October the 13th, 2022. Are there any changes, corrections, or amendments that you see that need to be made as you've examined them? If there are none, then we're going to ask that the minutes be approved as read.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Tepedino makes a motion.
Second.
And we have a second by Dr. Sorensen. You hear the motion in second. All in favor of that, members of the board, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Our next item on the agenda is student government report from our SGA representative, Toraya Lyles.
Good evening. I would like to update you all on the progress of the Student Government Association since our last meeting. Prior to finals, SGA offered a de-stress day on campus for our students. De-stress day consisted of hand wax, a relaxing back massage and foot massage, and scented oxygen. This week, we had various welcome back activities that the students really enjoyed. Both Monday and Tuesday, we offered Chick-fil-A along with personalized dog tags. I would also like to inform the board that Student Government's legislative liaison, Tavion Taylor, needed to step down from his position. Tavion received a full-time position in his field of his study, and we are so happy for him. SGA has selected Kyla Desmartin to replace Tavion as our legislative liaison. Kyla is a member of the cross-country team and is from Brantford. This concludes my report for today. Thank you.
Troy, the only thing, I know I speak on behalf of the board, that the next time we have a de-stress day, we'd all like to participate.
Yes, sir.
That was great. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Troy? Thank you so much, Troy. The next item for our consideration, presentation of the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda, of course, are routine business, state directives, compliance items. They've all been reviewed by our board attorney and have been available to the board for its examination. Any trustee can request a topic to be removed from the consent agenda and discussed further. Typographical errors will be noted and corrected in the board minutes. And I want to note on item number A, under personnel matters, there is another attachment in the green folder. In your green folder, there is an attachment you'll recognize. Is it blue?
Blue folder.
I'm sorry, I had green. I apologize.
That was dated back to the November meeting.
Okay.
That was canceled. So
I
it's the blue folder.
apologize. I'm sorry. Blue folder. And then item L, I guess I need to check, is I had foundation donation under green folder as well. I think that one is under the green folder. Should be the first page in your green folder. Okay, so that attachment is listed there. It has also been on the board's agenda on the website for the statutorily required period of time that our agenda must be published. I want to pause here and say that we're especially grateful that our packets were put together. There was a lot of help that was rallied to put these packets together because our dear Ibby has been under the weather significantly, as we all know, and she was not functioning as typically she would have. And we're so thankful that you're better, Ibby. Very, very thankful. But our folks did a great job putting this together. So outside of those two issues, if the board is okay seeing them in your packets that's been delivered to you tonight, I would ask for a motion and second to approve, unless there are any items that anybody wants to remove.
I don't want to remove an item. I just want
Yes.
a quick explanation because on the equipment list, since
Yeah.
there are two large numbers and it's 11, it says other. The welding simulator and the Freightliner, what does other encompass?
Please do.
Both those items, the welding simulator was a machine that was not really fitted to our needs.
Okay.
So we traded it in and got one that's slightly different that was more suited to the needs to the program.
Okay.
And then the same thing basically with the semi. We bought the semi before we had the CDL building and the CDL program. So we found one online and bought it, and it was a little bit bigger. The cab was bigger and it was taller than what we actually needed. And the instructor said that's more like teaching a 16-year-old to drive a limousine instead of driving a passenger car
Okay.
to start with. So
Right.
we traded both those in and got the items that we actually needed
Okay.
for those
Very
programs.
good.
And I'll take full responsibility for the CDL because I thought it was cool. And we
It
didn't have a
was. It was
subject
a
matter
NASCAR.
expert. And
It was a
like-
NASCAR semi from, it was very decked out.
So moral of that.
It was
story is
awesome and cool,
make
but then
sure
we
the
had a-
shell's involved.
So I take full responsibility.
I do-
In front of cars.
I do want to add, to our dear trustee, that I called earlier on those today and asked about those two specific items. Great minds. And if I'm not correct, we received back on the semi the money that we had in it. So it was a wash, and And that was great business handling, I'm sure, by Mrs. Holloway. Thank you so much. And I'm correct in that, right? Wasn't it kind of a wash?
Yes,
we Good. Had
a small consignment fee come out of it, but other than that.
Great. The same thing with the welder. Okay. Good. Great questions. Thank you. Any other questions by any of our trustees? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Ms. Catherine makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? You hear the second by Mrs. Allen. All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign, and the motion is carried. Okay, our next item for our consideration will be to hear from Academic Affairs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I hope everybody had a great holiday. I did as well. Well, the first thing I want to talk about is we want to thank the recruiting efforts by our fire instructor, Tracy Higdon. We see a significant increase in enrollment from 27 students last year to 62 this year.
Wow.
So that's quite an increase. And we also saw a likewise increase in computer science from 28 last year to 66 this term. So we've had quite a bit of, interest put in those two programs. And I got to give a big shout out to Deborah Reed and Dr. MJ Frederick in the computer science program for that. FGC has its very first Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship awardee. He was, out of 4 of our students that applied, Cade Mesnard won $4,000 for his study abroad, for our study abroad program this summer. So we're very, very happy about that. And we're also going to be having like study sessions or training on how to apply for those scholarships for future students. Our graduating classes for CDL and cosmetology, they had 100% pass rate on their state licensure and board exams, respectively. And all of them are working in their respective fields. And also, welding had its greatest graduating class with 15 students in December. And we've been able to confirm all of them but 2, because we haven't been able to get in contact with 2 of them. All of them are also working in the field right now. So kudos to them. On December 10th, the Future Teachers Club partnered with the Christian Service Center to provide crafts and games for children that receive services from that center. And the Christmas celebration, it was very well attended, and the children and club members had a very good time, and they definitely expressed their thanks to them. Also, the Brain Bowl. Last weekend, the team competed at Chipola College, and our best scoring players finished 3rd in the state. That's Kylie Sweat. And we also had Hunter Neely. He placed 11th out of 52 total players. And next week, or the week after, January 20th, the team heads to Santa Fe College so that they can compete in the sectional tournament held by the National Academic Quiz Tournaments. And that match is a qualifier for the national tournament. So good luck to them. The theater program. They gave the presentation on Frankenstein back in October. We didn't meet in November, so I'm just updating you from October. We had nearly 500 middle school students attend the Friday session, and we got our 3rd superior rating in a row at 92% for that performance by the the Florida College System Activities Association. And we were also awarded the Community Service Award for our work toward exposing middle school students to live performances. That's great. 3rd quarter, remember, missed November. So third quarter NCLEX results have seen an increase in our results for NCLEX. Our RN program had a 79% success rate on NCLEX. Florida was at 62.7, so we are well above the 10%. And the USA scores are at 77%, so we are above the national scores as well in NCLEX. And as a comparison, we are tied with FSCJ. They also scored 79%. We have some work to do to catch up to Santa Fe. They're at 91, but we are, we're aiming toward it though. And we should receive fourth quarter results in a week or two. And then last but not least, from our PTA program, the previous year, we were 352nd out of 354 school programs. This year, actually last year, because January, this year we are tied for first place in the nation with a 100% pass rate. Wow. We still have one student left for that test, so we are waiting to find out how they do on that test.
No pressure.
On
Right?
them.
No pressure.
We haven't told them this.
Right.
Okay.
No, we've reminded them.
This was a program that we were in danger of losing our accreditation on.
Yes.
That is amazing.
It is incredible.
Christine
Amazing
McLaughlin
work.
is doing amazing work over there.
Yeah.
Well, the whole college environment that lets
Wow.
people be successful and make changes when necessary and embrace that change. I know it probably wasn't easy to embrace the change, but wow.
Mm-hmm.
Good for our students.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Any questions?
Can we write that up when we get that final test? Because I feel like sometimes it's nice to have good information to justify the hard work you guys are doing.
I think we already sent it out, didn't we?
Did we?
Yep. But we-
You don't need to put the part about us being last in the nation, though.
We did not put that.
That's unnecessary.
Just kind of have a little bit of forgetfulness. But no, great work.
Dr. Gavin, that's an incredible, phenomenal report.
Well,
Wow.
and on the nursing scores as well, too, because
It
I mean,
is.
I can clearly remember when we sat around the library and we talked about how we really need to change directions again. And I appreciate my educators on the board because, and people in the field, because you guys really nailed it in terms of what some of the problems, the systemic problems were. And it looks like whatever changes we made really made a difference. That testing.
Amazing. Mr. Cardenas, no pressure. You get to follow that.
Good evening, everybody. The spring semester is off to a very busy start in student affairs and public information. Academic advising. Our academic advisors have met with 558 students over the last 9 days, registering them for the start of the spring 2023 semester. For comparison, their department met with 533 students over the entire month of December. Tomorrow will be very busy, with Friday being the last day of ad drop. In addition, academic advising has also been sending out about 2,400 start of term text reminders to all of our students, which has helped drive traffic to Building 14. A lot of foot traffic coming through Building 14 this last couple of weeks, which is a good sign. Our athletic department finished the fall 2022 semester with a strong academic performance. Our women's cross country team achieved the highest team GPA of 3.71. In addition, we had 6 student athletes achieve a perfect 4.0 GPA. Men's basketball starts their season up again on January 21st, and this February will mark the start of our inaugural women's flag football season. We are very excited about kicking that program off. On January 6th, FGC hosted Santa Fe College for the signing of 5 interinstitutional articulation agreements between the 2 schools. Dr. Barrett, Dr. Brody, president of Santa Fe College, and Dr. Gavin all spoke at the ceremony. We had about 45 plus students, faculty, and staff in attendance, which may have set an attendance record for an articulation signing on any campus in the state of Florida. Thank you, Dr. Barrett. This set of agreements is unique in the fact that they are between two Florida college system schools. Most of our articulation agreements are between FCS schools and university system schools, but this is a unique agreement between two Florida college system schools. Through the agreement, students can seamlessly transfer from Florida Gateway College to Santa Fe College in the Biotechnology AS degree or the Industrial Biotechnology BAS degree. Santa Fe College students can transfer into Florida Gateway College for the Elementary Education BS program, the Environmental Science Technology AS program, and the Water Resource Management BAS program. Starting off the spring, we have 42 students living in the Granger Residence Hall this spring. Our max capacity for the residence hall is 43, so we do have room for one more student. So if anybody knows of anybody out there, we'd love to have a full house. And finally, from the public information area, since our last meeting, FGC has appeared in news media approximately 45 times, with at least 20 stories appearing in the Lake City Reporter, and at least 10 on WCJB TV 20 out of Gainesville. We've sent out 12 press releases from December up until now. The Office of Public Information also coordinated a successful blood drive on campus in October with Life South Community Blood Centers. Life South informed us that they collected 15 units of blood, which translates to approximately 45 lives saved. They will be returning to campus with the Bloodmobile on January 30th and again on April 3rd. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Wonderful report.
Thank you.
Good report.
Thank you.
Okay, next, enrollment and marketing.
Good evening. I'll start with the enrollment update for spring. So as Tony said, spring semester started this week. Add drop continues through tomorrow. But we're currently up in head count by 4.2%. And so we're at 2,684 students compared to 2,576 students at this point last spring. And then we're also up in credit hours by 5.9%. And so that's 23,886 credit hours compared to 22,556 credit hours. And we're continuing to promote our late start classes as well. We have several that start later. And then we held fall commencement on December 15th. We had 130 students walk and 75 faculty participated. Enrollment Services has completed graduation review and awarded their degrees, and we actually mailed out 246 diplomas today. FAFSA Fiesta, so our financial aid director, Brandy Dean, had a great idea to hold a FAFSA Fiesta on February 7th from 4 o'clock to 4:30 to 7 o'clock p.m. And attendees will be served walking tacos to go along with the tagline for the Fiesta, which is Let's taco about cash for college. Easier to write than to say it. The event is open to anyone, but a special invite was sent to the parents of all of our seniors in our service region. So we're hoping we'll have a good turnout for those students to learn about financial aid resources and complete the FAFSA. We have upcoming experience days. We'll be hosting juniors and seniors from Trenton High School on January 20th and Bell High School on January 27th. We have entered into a pilot career dual enrollment program with CHS this semester, and it's for the phlebotomy program. So students in their senior year, in the spring of their senior year, who have been in the allied health program at the high school, they can take our phlebotomy course here, and then their health career core course that they take in high school, those together make up the phlebotomy certification. So when they graduate, they'll have that certification. We just launched that, and we have 14 students that have taken us up on that pathway. We're continuing to plan our 75th anniversary Art and Music Festival. That's on March 4th from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. We're collecting vendor applications. We already have 7 food vendors and 28 arts and crafts vendors. So the interest has been really good. We're lining up musical acts still, but so far We have Leah Marlene, who was the top 3 finalists on American Idol last season. I don't know if anybody watches that. I do, so I was excited. We have the Lee Boys, who are a Sacred Steel ensemble. And then we have local talents of country artist Cliff Dorsey from High Springs and 15-year-old Sadie Miller from Brantford that are lined up. And that's my report.
Great. I'm an American Idol fanatic.
I am too.
I cannot believe
I was so
we're
excited.
getting that out.
Most people just look at me like, who? I'm like, come on.
No, I feel you. It's incredible.
Any questions?
Is she any good?
She's great.
I tried to I sent him videos.
I can't believe
Because I'm like, I never heard of her.
Signing the check for her to come.
you
so.
poor people. What are you all doing with your lives? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Business services is our next item.
Good evening. I have budget amendment number 4 for the restricted current fund, Fund 2. The college requests approval of budget amendment number 4 to the restricted current fund for the fiscal year 2022 through 2023. This amendment recognizes revised award authorization and new grants received in the 2022-2023 fiscal year.
You hear the request of our Executive Director of Business Services for item B, Budget Amendment 4. Are there any questions about that request? We would entertain a motion to approve her request.
Mr. Chairman? Sorry?
I second it.
Okay, I'll just recommend that we approve budget amendment number 4.
Thank you. Thank you for your second. Dr. Surrency makes the motion. Ms. Catherine, she seconds the motion. You hear the motion in second. If there's no discussion, all in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The same sign. The motion is carried.
Thank you. My next budget amendment is budget amendment number 5, the capital outlay plan for the unexpended plant fund 7 budget. We are requesting approval of Fund 7 budget amendment number 5, which has been revised so the report reflects actual revenue, revised budgeted expenditures, actual expenses, and updated projects through December 8th, 2022.
You hear the request for item number C, budget amendment number 5. Do we have any discussion? Any questions? We would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
I'll second.
Susan makes the motion. Dr. Tepedino seconds. Are there any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Thank you. My next item is the college is requesting acceptance of the CRRSA Year 2. It's Federal CARES Act funds, basically. Cybersecurity and IT Pathways Expansion Grant. The purpose of this grant is to expand cybersecurity and information technology pathways program and increase the number of trained and/or educated workers in Florida that are prepared to fill the cybersecurity information technology jobs in the state. The total amount of the grant is $176,650. We are a subrecipient of a grant from University of South Florida.
Okay, partnering with them on the grant.
Yes.
Okay. You hear the request. Are there any questions, any discussion on the item? If there is none, we would request a motion for approval.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Catherine.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion in favor by Ms. Catherine, second by Mrs. Allen. All in favor. Is there any question or discussion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion is carried.
Thank you. And this grant will enable us to become equipped to have high demand certifications for our students. They can become certified in Cisco Cyber Ops and multiple CompTIA certifications. And my next item is our annual comprehensive safety inspection report. The college requests approval of the annual comprehensive safety inspection report for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. The inspection is mandated by the state requirements for federal educational facilities, SREF, and the Florida Administrative Code. The report is required by SREF to be submitted to the Florida State Fire Marshal's Office, the Florida College System Risk Management Consortium, and the Department of Education, and kept on file by the college upon approval of the District of Trustees. Each year, the DOE conveys the Commission of Education the aggregate institutional reports. And I'd like to note that our reports have 0 serious fire violations, 1 non-serious fire violation, and a few minor, they called them, let me get that. Fire safety deficiencies. We are in the process of getting quotes and or have contracts in place for the work to be done. 3 of these were noted at the old firing range, which is no longer here, so we knocked 3 of them out right there.
Thank you. I know Dr. Cernsey and I have looked at our share of these kinds of safety reports
We have,
and
yes.
somebody else's share. And this is a very clean report. Great work by our staff. Are there any questions or comments on this? Then we'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved with a well done.
Thank you, Ms. Suzanne. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Landers? Thank you. So Mrs. Suzanne makes the motion for approval. Mr. Landers seconds the motion. If there's no discussion, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. The motion is carried. Thank you so much for your report.
Thank you. Any questions?
And she is, I say it frequently, but I just like to go on record with it. She is so wonderful about interacting with us anytime we call and sharing whatever information it is we're seeking. She does whatever she has to do to help us. She works very transparently, and I appreciate that. Dr. Barrett, President's report.
I'm afraid to turn over my report first to Mr. Pinchot, but I will. For his annual foundation update and acceptance of a few issues. So we have this banter all the time at the...
Dr. Barrett, you know I'll be brief. Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, the board, thank you for having me again. I apologize for my tardiness. I normally come to see you in October, but I had a personal conflict, and then the meeting was canceled in November. So thus, it is now 4 months later, and we're finally here discussing March 31st, 2022 numbers, but that's the way it goes, and I know you'll be excited to see me again in 9 short months. So allow me to, under item B, do a quick foundation update. In July of this year, we actually had a slight staffing change, which generally never happens because there's only 3 of us over there. But we brought aboard Rebecca Golden, who most of you know is our former athletic director. She's now our director of resource development, helping us do everything scholarships and also lending a hand with fundraising. And that change was made because Penny Ferris, who's been in our office for 15 years, took over for Joanne Bailey in the library after 49 years. It's a whole thing. But we like the internal movement of people. Rebecca hit the ground running. We moved right into our giving season at the end of the year. For most nonprofits, it's a giving season, and we tasked Rebecca with running our annual employee giving campaign. And I'm proud to say we are at what we believe to be a record from the numbers we calculate, a record 80% of the FGC faculty and staff are contributors to the foundation, along with 100% of the back row, I might add. So thank you to all of them there. So Rebecca did a wonderful job with that. Also, we held our annual Giving Day in November, which was, I think, 2 days before what was supposed to be the board meeting, so I was very excited to come tell everybody. But we set a goal of $75,000 for the 75th anniversary, and donors were very generous to the college this year. And at the last moment, we had about $97,000 in contributions and pledges, and I was talking to one donor, and she said, what number are you at? And I said, we're at 97,000. And she said, what's the exact number? And I don't remember what exactly it was. She said, well, I'll write a check for the balance, and we're going to round that up to $100,000. So we actually raised $100,000, which is good news, bad news, because now Dr. Barrett's going to want $100,001 next year.
It's already in his evaluation.
Yeah. The Giving Day was obviously a tremendous success. We held an event at our office for one of the first times. We held a food truck rally, which really brought along a lot of new donors to come see us. We had some food trucks there, which essentially they made a donation and then received a meal, and we got to talk to them about the foundation. So we're really trying to cast a much wider net for donors. Last year as well, due to donor support, we were able to purchase 6.7 acres of land for the college on the corner of Highway 100 and Academic Avenue, which is the corner as you come in off that route. So we still have that under our possession for future development for the college when needed. Mr. Chair, I'm going to move into a couple approvals at this time. And before we move on to the audit report, these revolve around building namings, and building namings are always a wonderful thing. And the first building naming that I'm going to talk about tonight and ask for the board's support and voting on is, they're all special. Every building naming is special, but this one's a little extra special tonight because it involves one of our own, and that involves Miss Suzanne Norris. Last year was Miss Norris's 25th year on the Florida Gateway College District Board of Trustees, and her husband and herself and her family have decided to make a contribution, and then with her contribution and the 25 years, we decided it would be a wonderful idea to rename Building 8, which is the Student Success Center, to the Suzanne and Guy Norris Family Student Success Center. And that was an idea that Dr. Barrett and I had come up with together, and we would like the board to entertain making that official tonight, if you so choose.
Okay. I don't think we need a great deal of discussion except to say that's probably the most appropriate motion and second will be made tonight. I wish I wasn't chair so I could make the motion.
I'd like to make the motion.
I'm sure you will. And we will receive it from Mrs. Catherine McGinnis. We'd entertain a second.
I'll second that.
Dr. Tepedina will second it. And we will, before we vote, entertain any discussion by any board member on the motion and second.
So 25 years, you have to question somebody's sanity, right?
Yeah.
You're my doctor.
HIPAA violation.
So I think, anybody who can be that dedicated to not just an institution, but to a community is somebody of a caliber and a thread that we are so, you're woven into this college. And so it seems so incredibly fitting to have that a success center, because so many people have been successful based on your input or your guidance or your tutelage or something that you or Guy, who is a wonderful person, by the way, have been involved in. And then you can look very, very, very close to where the tree is and the apple doesn't fall far from it, and her children are just outstanding young men who again, fit in that caliber. And it's a sort of thing that somebody very wise told me one time, good people make other good people. And that adage holds true here. And to be able to have a center where excellence is expected and encouraged, and to be able to have people succeed, it would be impossible to fully calculate how many lives you have impacted in such a positive way. And then you take Guy and you factor that in, and you multiply it by 2, and then you take her children, you multiply it, and so it's a ripple effect of that kindness and that love and that little bit of God's love being shared at so many levels. And if you've ever worked with her in any kind of foundation or any kind of, she crosses her T's, she dots her I's, but she holds the highest ethical standard, and really treats every dollar that comes through here as if it was being a steward for her own family member. And so that's the sort of person that I know I'm blessed, and I'm a better person because I've worked with you. So, and I think we all are.
Call the question.
And we will be doing a ceremony, be doing the actual official ceremony.
Congratulations.
I will say one thing, is
Yes.
that I went in wanting to do a room at the new STEM building, and everything was taken already. And so I have to give kudos to Dr. Barrett and to Lee to have a vision to substantially increase what I was initially looking to do. And so kudos to you all to find a sweet spot in my heart that really spoke to me. So thank you. You're very creative, and I appreciate it, and I'll try to live up to it. And do I need to abstain from this vote, Megan?
I would.
Okay, and she has, as she has done so carefully and strategically during the time that I've been here, worked the motion. So she's called the question. We will vote. Trustee Norris. So we have a motion and second that Building 8 be renamed the Suzanne and Guy Norris Success Center, if I'm correct.
Family.
Family, thank you. Thank you. All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried.
And to Dr. Barrett's credit, he did say, Suzanne is all about student success. That is the building for her, so it is appropriate. Mr. Chair, we've got another building naming. Again, Dr. Barrett has been putting on his fundraising and development hat out there and doing a wonderful job. This was in conjunction with one of our foundation board members, longtime foundation board members, Jeannie Norman. We've built a relationship for about 8-9 years now with the Grace and Al Harder Family Trust. Al Harder, who passed away a couple years ago, and we knew quite well. There's 2 rooms named in the STEM building after them. There's multiple endowments, the CDL complex. But Dr. Barrett had made an appointment and talked to Rose Pavey, who's the trustee of that trust, and had asked her if she would be willing to name, he refers to it now as STEM 2 until tonight, the new STEM building that will be developed, that plans are in place right now, to be renamed the Grace and Al Harder Center for Innovation, and this coincided with a $200,000 contribution.
Excuse me just a minute. Center for Innovation, correct?
Correct. And this building will host the new nursing simulation and the cybersecurity. Correct.
Okay, the request is that the new STEM 2 building be named the Grace and Al Harder Center for Innovation in recognition of their the ongoing kindness from that family. Can we entertain a motion? If there's no discussion, can we entertain a motion for approval?
So moved.
Mrs. Norris.
Second.
Mrs. Allen. So Mrs. Norris makes a motion that we approve the request, and Mrs. Allen seconds. Do we have any discussion? Just very gracious of this Jeannie Norman. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'll move on to item C, which is the presentation of our annual report and audit report. This, again, goes back to our fiscal year ending March 31st, 2022. which we normally bring to you in October once the audit is done and our boards and committees have an opportunity to present it. The actual audit report is in front of you, but if you look at item C, I've made a nice snapshot so you don't have to go through all multiple pages of that. I'm happy to report that mainly due to the work of our wonderful accountant in our office, the woman who takes care of all of our books, Brenda Hunter, this is a clean, unmodified audit report from our independent auditor, James Moore. So obviously we can't be more thrilled with that. Total revenues for the year were $4.5 million. That is a change and a decrease of $1.5 million from the year before, which is not due to fundraising. That is totally a difference in just change in market value of securities. The 2021 revenues of $6 million were kind of a top point with the market. Total support to the college in 2021-22 was $1.5 million. That's an increase of $680,000. Majority of that is the donation of the boys club that we held in our assets to the college. Total assets for the college at the end of the year, or for the foundation, excuse me, at the end of the year were $25,790,000. This was an increase of $2.7 million. And then the line 2 below that, I just always like to point out that of that almost $26 million, $1.3 million is unrestricted. So only 5.3% of our total assets is our fund. Dr. Bear, what do you always call it? I'm trying to use your words to put it in perspective for, what do you guys call it? No, we'll come up with it. It's our unrestricted fund. Fund balance was the term I was looking for. Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
We always call it fund balance at the college. So that's why we continue to fundraise every day, every year, because donors get quite specific on where they want their money to go, and we encourage them to allow us more flexibility, but we just never know. The foundation received $1.5 million in cash gifts in the fiscal year, and I usually take this time to interrupt Ms. Norris and answer her question for her, but because it's her night, I decided I'll let her ask the question that she always asks me each year.
Aren't you glad I've been asking you these last few years to highlight what a wonderful job you're doing in increasing the gifts of the college as opposed to living off the high drug of what the market's been doing? Because, it goes up and it goes down, but, we're not looking to liquidate any of our securities. Obviously, we'll hold them unless there's a specific need, but really the growth and the health of the foundation outside of good stewardship of our investments is what are we doing on the ground to increase not only donor money, but broad-based support like you're doing. So congratulations, great year, even though it doesn't feel good because the market was down.
This will be a whole nother report in 9 months.
Yeah, right, it'll be probably even scarier. But great job. The blocking and tackling is really what matters.
It's a total team effort. It is all about, I don't know why this popped in my head, but I think it was.
So I'm going to give you one more challenge.
Harry Truman, who said it doesn't matter. It's amazing what you can accomplish when it doesn't matter who gets the credit.
I'm going to give you one more challenge too to start adding, and you've already got the groundwork here because I know that when we talked, definitely increasing the amount of unrestricted assets is absolutely huge for our college because I know we've got a lot of restricted scholarships and things like that, and we struggle sometimes to try to figure out how do we really could use more unrestricted. And so I applaud you for continuing to approach donors about unrestricted and keep reporting on that number, and let's continue to see that number improve.
And so I just want to interrupt for the great Al and Grace and Al Harder scholarship. That was the request from the donor that money be used for that building. Correct. And go directly within 3 to 5 years into that building. All of it. So that gives you an example of the adaptation.
Right.
So finally, the foundation has no debt, and our full tax return, 990, which is really enjoyable to read, is on file here at the business office and at the foundation if you have trouble sleeping at night. So at this time, Mr. Chair, we're asking for the board to make a motion to accept the 2021-22 fiscal year audit report for the foundation.
With no findings, so we will request approval of the audit report.
I make a motion to approve the audit report.
Alan makes a motion to approve.
Second
Ms.
it.
Catherine seconds. You hear the motion and second to approve the wonderful audit report, Lee. Thank you. Are there any questions, discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign, the motion is carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one last item, item D, the recertification of the foundation. We do this every year at this time as well. We're requesting the approval and the recertification of the Foundation for Florida Gateway College as the sole direct support organization for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2023.
You hear the request from our director. What's the mind of the board?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Norris makes the motion. Dr. Cerncy seconds the motion for approval of recertification of the Education Foundation. All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign, and the motion is carried.
Thank you. I'll defer the rest of my time to Dr. Barrett.
Very kind. Yes, sir.
All right, thank
Dr.
you.
Barrett.
I just want to all thank you for your attendance. Those of you who could have made it at graduation. Remember, this is relatively new for the institution. This is like the third time we've had a fall graduation. It was packed house. It was probably the busiest we've ever seen it. Very important to see those families. The best time of the year for me is those graduations. So thank you all. It was great to have that kind of thing. And of course, Marlon, our former attorney, was given the Alumni of the Year award. So that was kind of an exciting thing for him, even though he made some comment who the greatest president was. I was there. All right, so I have not let him live it down. So anyway, moving on. I was going to say something more serious, so I'll transition into who our next Alumni of the Year will be. Lee and I had the opportunity to talk to a younger alumnus, Cameo Lance, who's a 2011 graduate of Florida Gateway College, and at the same time was a graduate of Fort White High School. And she graduated here at the same time. She graduated here before she graduated high school, as many of our students do. She is now an astrophysicist at the RIA Space Institute in DC, and she's the CEO there. Very impressive young woman. And when we talked to her about 25 minutes on the phone, Lee and I. We're trying to plan something while she's here. She's going to be at both ceremonies in May. And we're going to try to do something for the youth, for women in STEM on that day also. But she reminded us of two things that she reminded her the most important courses she took at FGC that she remembers best. Of course, it was the physics course. And she took it in that awful building that we used to have. And the thing is, but she also said physics and theater, because so those are the two things. So it brought it around for us, and it was very important. So we're diversifying our alumni, so I just want to thank everyone for doing that, and thank you, Lee, for getting me to meet with her and so forth via Zoom. So that was an exciting thing. On a more serious note, many of you may know or may not know Morris Williams, longtime educator in Columbia County, worked for the school district for 40 years. He passed away this past Monday. He was a good friend of mine, was one of the people like Mr. Mott that helped me along the way. So Morris has passed away. He was the founding member of our Take Stock in Children's program, and also was the first chairman. So I just wanted to let you know that we did do a little tribute on our social media in regards to him, because he was the friend of the foundation of 2015. So I just wanted to let you know we did that on our social media, because it is part about relationships and so forth. Santa Fe College, Tony already talked to you about it, but it goes once again about relationships. And it's a very important thing, because our students, either institution, whether it's the big guy or the one that most makes impact, FGC or Santa Fe, but the thing is, it makes an impact for our students. They can get a bachelor's degree by going to those institutions for $10,000. And then the other issue is if we ever start a new program, I'll use the auto as an example, about $400,000 to start a new program. So with us not having to start a new program, and Santa Fe not having to start a new program, we're saving the taxpayers and also helping our students, which is so important to us. Moving on to the track will be completed at the Twyla and Avery Roberts facility. That pavement will be started tomorrow, I believe, and will be finished early next week, and that will complete our phase 4 of that campus, And as I was driving to Jacksonville yesterday, I looked at that campus. I remember in 2015 what it looked like, and I look at it today. And it's just such a different campus now for that. A couple of other things, new flooring in our student activities, the hall center. And when you do something like that, now we got to do other things in that hall center to make it look attractive, and students are using it. A couple other things, you're welcome to come to our first tailgate for our football season on February 25th, which will be at the Boys Club. So that will be an interesting thing. And those of you that know that we brought back softball for next year, we've already signed 18 players, and 15 of those 18 players are within our 5-county service district. And that field is being renovated, and it's being renovated. A majority, 95%, is being done by donations. It's a first-class field in the back there. Another thing that we didn't mention is Wellness Center. If you ever remember our Wellness Center in the Student Activities Building, which was about a 10 by 20 area, we've used, once again, using our buildings. And remember, having empty classrooms, having things like that, that hurts us in our things. So that entire building that used to be the golf building in the back is now being turned into our wellness center. And we used wellness money we received from different pots of money, and that is now a 4,000 square foot wellness center for our students, faculty, and staff. And all the new equipment is all leased equipment, so we have a plan of action that every 3 or 4 years we will, and it really is a state-of-the-art facility. So I wanted to let you know that. The other thing is, we mentioned about the dorm space. We have made a move. Building 4, which was no longer in use because of the STEM building, which was empty for the fall, we have moved all our nursing simulation into that as part of our phased-in process when we build our new building, and that will open up an additional 18 beds for our dormitory. And I want to thank the board for having the faith in this team that we pulled together. Remember when the dorms closed in 2008, and many of you were on that, they were losing $462,000 a year, and you made the right choice to close them at that time, but you also, I think, made the great choice of reopening them, and we're now making about $100,000, and we have student demand for that, and it's helping drive our enrollment. So I just want to thank you all for that. And the last thing I have is in regards to the gala. We have a gala coming up thanks to Casey's team that's doing the 75th anniversary. It will be May 20th. It will be the biggest gala ever in all of Lake City. It will be. It will be better than any of the chamber galas in the past. No pressure, Casey. We're doing a lot. We've had, thanks to Casey and Lee and so forth, we have 2 sponsoring sponsorships for that. And we will be doing a little bit less of the request for some of our faculty and staff to try to keep the cost down for them. But you're all invited. You'll all be getting invitations to that. And it should be a night to remember. So that will be May 20th. So that's my report, Mr. Chairman. Sorry it took so long.
Oh, great. Good news. Good news. May 20th, the gala to end all galas. That is so kind of you to do that.
No pressure, Casey.
No pressure.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to address
Yes, please do.
item 11F.
Yes.
It's an action item, I'm not sure.
Oh, which one?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. That's why Megan's been great to me. I'm sorry. So, many of you know that there was a legislative bill approved in the last legislative session in regards to, let me go to that report so we know, in regards to our accreditation. The state of Florida has been accredited by SACS COC since its inception, and they've always been the accreditor for all colleges in the state of Florida. A legislative change has taken place that requires the college within their 5-year core report or 10-year report to change accreditations every 5 years. And that is a process. And I thought it was important to bring to the board because it is going to impact fiscally and just besides fiscally, a lot of time and effort. And we have already sent 2 individuals, Matt went in your place, Paul, I'm sorry, Matt and Christina Boatwright, to one of the accreditors, which was Middle States, which is in the northern part of the United States, and in March we'll be sending another team to see HLC. And it used to be regional accreditors used to only be able to handle regional accreditors. The federal government changed that requirement in 2019 that you could seek other accreditations outside your region. And the legislature accepted that and decided to take it a step forward and say, you will. And so we must do that. And the thing is and it's a process that it's a pretty complicated process. We have to appeal to the federal government, financial aid, and they have to allow us to move forward with our accreditation. But we've gotten ahead of it because we want to compare accreditors. So it's and it puts me in a situation that probably I'll be stepping down from our SACS board within the next year because there'll be a conflict of interest as I move forward. So I just wanted to let you know. So I'm just acknowledging that part of the process should be that notifying the board, and I think it should be probably an action item. So I do have that listed in the packet.
So you're seeking approval of, okay. College request board approval to begin the process of switching accreditors after the next reaffirmation or fifth-year review. And Dr. Baird did a great job of explaining that significant effort is being expended by personnel and dollars are being expended, and he feels like that that's a matter that should have our attention and our approval. What's the mind of the board?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Mrs. Norris moves to approve. Second.
I second it.
Ms. McGinnis seconds the motion. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, do you have a specific list of accrediting bodies that you are required to look at?
Yes.
What if you determine that
Regional.
SACS is the best one for us? Are you allowed to go back to them and to make a case that they're still the best one for us? I mean, I honestly have no dog in the fight. I mean, I couldn't tell you one from the other, but how do you narrow the scope of who can be the accrediting body, and then will you come back to us with a recommendation
Absolutely.
as to which one and why it's best for us?
It's really about fit. If you read, and the majority of the creditors, I've become very involved in it, so I know this is that the majority of the accreditation is best for the fit of the organization. SACS takes people from all the way from certificate institutions all the way up to doctoral institutions. To give you an example, Middle States, and many of the same criteria are with the different accreditors. To give you an example, Middle States tends to have a different take on faculty qualifications than SACS. SACS has a requirement of master's plus 18 unless we have an adaptation of that. Middle States believes that in a different way. And I'm not speaking for either accreditor, but the thing is, they would take it that if you have a different degree, but you have 20 years of experience, that you may allow that kind of a faculty member. So now it's very driven. So those are the kinds of differences. Middle States is very dependent on peer evaluations, similar to what we do in SACS. Many of people in this room are peer evaluators, that they go to different institutions. HLC, you have to hire people to review your things. So there's all differences. So it's really about niche, and that's why I'm looking, a lot of people in the universities are looking at HLC because it's a process that's only 36 months to go through, and sometimes you can accelerate it to 18 months. So everyone's looking at that as the fast track. I'm looking at what's the best fit for our institution and what fits for us and has the most students that are most, because we are a unique and diverse institution that we have students from cosmetology students all the way to baccalaureate students, and that's a unique issue for us. So I mean, so we're looking voluntarily to do this and voluntarily for the best fit. So one of the things I'm not a rebel with it right now, but a lot of people are saying let's just go to HLC because everybody else is doing it. I'm saying let's look at this. We have an opportunity to improve ourselves and look at ourselves. So, and we do have 5 accrediting. Western's 1, New England College, Middle States, HLC, and is there another one, Paul? All right, there's 4 of them. Oh, there might be another one, but and then there's the associate degree one under Western. So, all right, so it's a tough procedure that we're going to be going through, but we've been meeting with both the Department of Education and the state university systems. All the college presidents got together with the department and so forth. So we're moving forward, and actually I'm looking at it as a reflective assignment, but the problem is we're going to be going through a 5-year accreditation at the same time we have to look for another accreditor.
Okay.
So that's the issue of finance and personnel, and it's going to be a challenge, but we'll get through it, and we're going to be better for it. So.
And does one organization have more gravitas in terms of if you're accredited by them than another one? For example, you know, if Santa Fe goes with one, or one of our competitors in our marketplace goes with one and we go with a different one, is there any reflection on how people perceive the quality of that education?
And that's where the sausage is made, Suzanne. That, quite frankly, is because everyone says, let's go with HLC. I'll just use this as an example. And so all of us would be HLC for transfer of credits and all that. State law by Florida says as long as you're an accredited institution, they have to accept your credits anyway. And my argument among the other presidents was every 5 years we have to do this. So the thing is so we're always going to have, right now, we're going to have SACS and some other one, and maybe 3 at a time, and then we have to switch it out. So why not have a few in each of us so we can help each other? So I mean, it's kind of an issue that, so it's going to be an ongoing, you'll see a lot of press about this throughout the state. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you hear the motion second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion to approve this process, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. If you have any topics for future meetings, please contact the President's office. Everyone is always free to inspect the warrant register. We have set the time for our next meeting. That'll be February 9th at 5 p.m. the FGC boardroom in Building 1. And we'll entertain a motion to adjourn if all minds are relieved.
So moved.
So move. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're adjourned.